The wind has picked up since we've been back out here, and the field conditions were already pretty soggy. Now they used 4 squeegees to try to do the best they can in a rolling sponge, but I can only imagine this is going to get worse and worse with the more wear it's got as the weather keeps deteriorating.
Other than that, it's beautiful.
Look, I've played here before. This is a field that does not drain well.
Second down, 12. Penn State bringing pressure. Picked up, so the working time, and it's knocked away by Christian Campbell. Breaking on Cody White, and making it 3rd down and 12.
Absolutely perfect timing by Christian Campbell, number 1, the senior. And able to get in that near hand on the football. If you'll remember, he was called for a pass interference earlier in a previous drive, so good adjustment by Campbell in timing.
First incompletion thrown by Brian Lewerke since the delay. He's a guy who grew up in Phoenix, Arizona without any rain games. Seems to be throwing it well. Pressure despite only 3 rushing. He scrambles out of there and throws it incomplete. How about this drive for Tyrell Chavis up front for Penn State?
He was the man pressuring Brian Lewerke. Lewerke a number of times now has kind of pirouetted out from the back of the pocket. Looking to his left, Shaka Tony. He's the guy with all the speed off the edge. Leads the team in sacks so far this year.
Andre Tompkins back to return this punt. Jake Hartbarger. You can hear the rain hitting our microphones down the field. It's over Tompkins' head and into the end zone for a touchback. So with 1:09 left, Penn State had all 3 timeouts. Saquon Barkley, -3 yards on 5 carries.
Oh yeah, they've only rushed the ball 5 times. I mean, that's a little bit of a storyline, I think, in itself. It seemed that, you know, just to hang out a little bit on the running game to set up the RPOs and pass in total in the game. Barkley's only touched the football 7 times. I would imagine as the rain continues to come down, we're going to rely more heavily on the run. It's going to be hard to complete football in these conditions.
And since the Trace McSorley is for 4, it's not been because he's been off. There have been a couple of drops. There's ugly conditions down there. 1:09, all 3 timeouts from the 20-yard line. Sorley to the flats and drop Barkley. Can't possibly be any fun as an offensive player right now.
No, I mean, it takes away your ability to focus on the scheme, your job is, and what you're trying to execute, because you have to worry about the lift. And that's just catching the football, ensuring that you have proper ball security, especially for Trace McSorley, who's, as you noted, he's thrown the ball well. Just as receivers and running backs haven't made the catch.
On 2nd down. Well protected again. The coverage and intercepted. This one's picked off by David Dow, and Michigan State has it inside the 30. There's a flag down at the end of the play.
This is the man, David Dow, who's going to end up getting the interception. He just broke on that corner out. We talked about how Penn State likes to throw the corner outs. You see him time and time again. You make that adjustment.
After the interception and during the return, illegal block in the back, intercepting team number 26. 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. Michigan State's ball, 1st and 10.
And that's Brandon Randall with the penalty, but 3rd interception of the season for David Dow. Tremendous job just breaking on the football in these conditions. Usually when it's wet like that and you're on a bad field, it's the defensive backs who have the harder time with footing because they're always reactive. The wide receivers know how they're going to set up their feet for the route. Let me see right here.
Just unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get too much worse than that. And that's on their center, Connor McGovern. You can see he's saying the play was over.
So the Spartans have it at the 36. Dow pumps and now throws back shoulder, and White's got it. Perfect throw. Looking at Cody White for a first down gain of 18.
Let's take another look. Catch, foot down. It looks like inbounds. It was called a catch. So once again, If this went to be reviewed, I think it'd be tough to overturn. Let's see if this is a better angle.
Moving on the field is a completed pass for a first down. The play is under further review.
That's really close.
We saw this on the very first drive from Penn State to their tight end, Gesicki. And the call on the field then was a catch. And this one, to me, looks like it would be harder to overturn than that one was. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I think this one could get overturned.
Okay.
I think I see enough toe there on the white line.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt?
No. I'm just saying if you're comparing it to the earlier one. So it is under review. Mike Pereira, how do you see this one?
You're making it tough on me because do I go with Joe Davis or do I go with Brady Quinn here? I mean, and it seems like 8 hours ago we had this same thing. I'm going to take a flyer and go with Joe Davis on this, on the last shot. You know, it is close, and they did not overturn it the first time, but on that toe there, if I'm going to make this decision, I think I'm going to make it an incomplete pass. There leaves a lot in question, but I'm going to take a Joe Davis flyer and go with incomplete.
Always a good choice, Mike.
That's just because he wants Dodgers tickets. That's what that's about. He's putting the work for next year.
With his foot out of bounds, therefore it's an incomplete pass. It'll be second down at the 36-yard line.
Mike, Dodgers tickets coming your way anytime you want them.
And when we talked to the replay officials during the break, I asked about that particular play, and what the response was, they didn't have a good view of Gesicki's, toe to heel in that particular play. It was a much more clear view, at least in review process.
So they overturn it, and it's 2nd and 10 for Michigan State. 2 timeouts in 49 seconds. An empty set with Gerald Holmes leaving the backfield. Penn State heats it up with a 5-man rush. Incomplete. Intended receiver Felton Davis.
Penn State's going to dictate or impose their will, meaning they're going to bring pressure. They're going to force you to have to deal with a free defender rushing on you as a quarterback. You've got to be able to find a quick answer and be able to, most of the time, deal with get hit and coming back the next play. Michigan State did a good job of handling the pressure in the first and into the second quarter before the weather delay. So far, whenever Penn State's elected to bring pressure, they've struggled since they've come back.
They're down 10, they bring 4. Lewerke throws high, looking for Stewart. Because of that penalty, that unnecessary blocking penalty on the end of the punt rerun, on the end of the interception return, Michigan State hardly in field goal range here. And they'll bring the punt team out.
And Michigan State's going with the win. So, to your point, had they not been penalized, maybe a little bit more of an opportunity for a field goal attempt.
Tompkins steps in front of it, and well done by Jake Hartbarger inside the 5. State Farm halftime coming up in just a moment. A lot to talk about in this first weekend of November. Ohio State and a tough one at Iowa. Georgia taking on South Carolina after it was #1 in the initial college football playoff rankings. Oklahoma State, always fun. Now, these two teams actually play for a trophy, the land-grant trophy. These schools were founded 10 days apart in 1855 as the nation's first 2 land-grant schools. So when Penn State joined the Big Ten in the early 90s, they hatched that tradition. Only 32 seconds. As Penn State gets ready to start his drive back into its own end. Barkley for 3. this is a unique thing in that you're kind of going to get 2 half times, at least time frames to make adjustments. The 3.5-hour delay. Now, when this clock runs out, your traditional 20 minutes.
There was the possibility they could have foregone a halftime, but coaches always like making those adjustments during halftime, be able to come out in the second half with something a little bit different.
So this top 25 matchup in East Lansing has reached halftime, tied at 14 between Penn State and Michigan State. We get you to Los Angeles now for the State Farm halftime show. Rob Stone and the guys take it away. We got a tie game coming out of halftime as we welcome you back to Fox College Football presented by Volkswagen. Top 25 Big Ten matchup. 7th ranked Penn State. 24th ranked Michigan State locked at 14 in a game that has seen a 3-hour, 23-minute rain delay, lightning delay, and since resuming play it has not been pretty, especially on Penn State's side. Averaged 7.5 yards per play prior to the delay. The offense looked really good, but -2 on 9 plays since.
Yeah, Penn State's really had an issue with trying to catch the football. Trace McSorley has struggled to really get the ball out to his wide receivers and running backs. He's missed a couple throws. The majority of the time, though, the wide receivers have had a hard time catching the football. Saquon Barkley as well. So it was kind of sloppy for Penn State, but for Michigan State, they've been the one that have come out a little bit hotter and taken advantage of the opportunities, in particular the touchdown pass to Felton Davis.
The lone scorer since the delay. Off we go with the second half. Hayward to return it from the goal line. Connor Hayward has some room and crosses the 25-yard line. Now, since we resumed play, you mentioned not necessarily off target with a lot of the throws, but the guys having a hard time bringing them in.
Some have chosen to not wear gloves. Others have changed their gloves. You see the poor throw and the interception. Then it's been Michigan State being able to capitalize off a field position, just coming up with a big play. Now they're going to have the opportunity to take the football again and try to get a lead against the number 7 team in the country.
Remember when these teams met up last year, Michigan State had a 12-10 halftime lead. That game ended up 45-12 Penn State. Spartans hoping for a different outcome this time around. Begin the second half with an L.J. Scott run, and he's hit before he gets back to the line of scrimmage by Kevin Givens. Down to Bruce Feldman.
Guys, James Franklin not happy with the first half. He said, you know what, we're not playing with confidence. We're letting the weather affect us. We got to find a way to get the run game going. I think that'll be with the quarterback run. And he said, we got to fire out. You make a mistake, but let's just go play. On the other side, a little happier. He likes how his quarterback's playing. Father said, you know what, we've been in this last year. We got to be prepared for them to take shots in the second half.
Penalties, you mentioned 5 of them on Michigan State already. Lewerke out of a clean pocket. Felton Davis juggles and drops. So everybody getting involved in the sloppiness in the receiving game, and it's 3rd and 10.
Well, it's hard to play fast when you're not as confident in your footing. Obviously, you worry about being able to keep your feet. The wide receivers, it's when to cut. How do they temper down through their breaks for the defensive players? A lot of time it's tough dealing with players out in open space. Trying to make sure you're able to tackle them, get an arm on them, and bring them down.
As a receiver in this bad footing, you know where you're going. Like you mentioned late in the first half, the DBs don't. That can be tough with a poor footing. Penn State brings heat. Lewerke tucks it. Givens chases. Able to get rid of it, but it's knocked down. Amani Oruwariye from his corner spot batted it down, and a 3-and-out for the Spartans.
Penn State continues to bring pressure. It's gotten Brian Lewerke a little bit flustered since we've gotten back. I thought he handled it better in the very beginning of the game, getting the ball out of his hand quick. Let's see. Kevin Givens chasing him. He's got that running back background. Still got that speed, even though he's put on all the additional weight to be able to play on the D-line.
DeAndre Tompkins back to return Jake Hartbarger's punt. Penn State coming after it. He'll pick it up. Tompkins watches it bounce Langston with the wet conditions doesn't dare try and pick it up. So from the 26-yard line, Penn State will begin its first drive of the second half. Trying to get the Heisman contender Saquon Barkley engaged in the game. Fox College football is sponsored by Coors Light. The key to a good offense is a refreshing defense. Climb on. And by King's Hawaiian Foods, irresistible since 1950. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Bruce Feldman back here in East Lansing, where it has been ugly. Saquon Barkley, pretty similar story to last year when he was banged up against Michigan State. They bottomed him up to just 14 yards. 0 yards on 6 carries in this one. First drive of the second half begins with a toss to Barkley. One of the top rush defenses in the country has been stout again today. This time David Dowell and Kenny Willekes tracked him down.
Coming into today's game, Penn State ran the football about 47% of the time, roughly. So it's not surprising that they've got more pass attempts than rush attempts. So we take a look at this matchup between these two teams last year. Obviously, Michigan State hoping to put up a better performance in 2017, but not to the extent of 28 pass attempts versus 10 rush attempts.
They flip it outside again, trying to get Barkley in space. He's got some room. Stays on his feet. Saquon Barkley finally gets loose into Michigan State territory for 32 with a key block from Deshaun Hamilton.
And it was also DeAndre Hopkins on the outside. Watch when Trace McSorley ends up getting Willekes to commit, and there you see it, number 3. That's DeAndre Tompkins getting a key block to allow Barkley to get to the sideline and turn it upfield. That's just something you don't see a lot versus this Michigan State defense, but step out. Ooh. I'm not even going to weigh in on this one after the last replay.
There have been too many close ones today. Miles Sanders in a running back. McSorley has it tipped and incomplete. That thing fluttered probably what seemed like in slow motion for Trace McSorley as it was tipped at the line of scrimmage. And Barkley, after one play of rest, comes back in. Trace McSorley, since the 3.5-hour weather delay, is 0 for 7. Steps out, and is incomplete. And Sean scored in the second half of last year's game, where Penn State erupted for 35. They did that with good weather conditions, throws downfield. You're probably not going to have any opportunity to do that in this horrible weather today.
No, and not versus this defense. I think they've done a pretty good job getting pressure on McSorley. This is an offensive line for Penn State that's playing without the starting left tackle, Ryan Bates. He's not. Will Fries has taken over the position. And look, we've seen them give up a number of tackles for loss and sacks the past couple weeks.
The season's second most negative plays in college football. Martin showing pressure. They bring the lead forward for McSorley, who's nowhere close to Gesicki. And paid for it, getting hit as he let it go. Down.
Raequan Williams, big number 99, doesn't always get the sacks, but tell you what, he gets a lot of hits on quarterbacks, and those add up. In a wet, cold, rainy game like that, tend to sting a little bit worse.
You played in a wet game here, although it went okay for you.
Yeah, but, you know, again, was down by a number of scores, ended up having to come back, but kind of similar conditions. Cold, rainy, a lot of wind.
White back to return this punt. Fair catch inside the 10. So that's where Michigan State will have it in a 14-14 game in East Lansing. The road ahead is sponsored by Coors Light. To the climb ahead, the celebrations to follow. Climb on. Here's what Michigan State has coming up. Mark D'Antonio's team as we've said, in control of its own destiny. If they win out, they would win the Big Ten East and have a spot in the championship game. Right now tied at 14, begin this drive at their own 9-yard line. Got crunched in the hole by Jason Kabin, but stays on his feet and gets 6.
This is what you want to see from L.J. Scott. Yards after carry. You're going to see a little power from him. Kabinda gets the first shot on him, but again, when it's wet out there, it's not just tough for the offense, the wide receivers catch the football and ball security. It's tough on defenders for those guys to wrap up. They can't just be able to give you a shoulder and expect to knock a guy down.
Give him 5, 2nd and 5. Back to the air. Lewerke steps into a strike for a first down, snapping a string of 7 consecutive incompletions. Finding Felton Davis, already his 7th catch.
Well, here's the route. Watch Felton Davis run this comeback route. Once he puts on the brakes, see how Christian Campbell struggles coming out of it? That's what we're talking about. That's where the defensive backs are at a disadvantage because they don't know when the wide receivers are going to stop and get back into their cut.
You're starting to see Davis and some of the receivers adjust, make some more body catches with the ball slipping through their hands. First down from the 26. Back to Davis. Campbell's on him this time. Let's check in with Greg Wolf in Los Angeles for an AT&T game break.
Joe, thanks. We'll check in on Bedlam at Stillwater, a game you can see over on FS1, Oklahoma State, and Baker Mayfield doing his thing. He finds Marquise Brown over the middle, who does the rest. 84-yard touchdown. Sooners have added another since they lead 35-24 second quarter. Joe, Brady, back to you.
Talk about putting on the Jets. See him pull away.
Big day so far for Mayfield. 4 touchdowns total accounted for.
Gerald Holmes. It'll be 3rd down and short for the Spartans. Boy, what a muddled picture at the top of the Big 12 standings. Iowa State, the surprise team. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State facing off in Bedlam today, and those top 4 teams will meet next week. It'll be Oklahoma hosting TCU. It'll be Iowa State hosting Oklahoma State.
That picture is going to look dramatically different. Iowa State's losing right now to West Virginia, 20-10 in Morgantown. Obviously, Oklahoma State will figure itself out.
Much different picture in that game than this one, with the rain falling and a 3rd down and 3 for Michigan State. The box loaded up for Penn State. They drop 7 into coverage, and underneath it's Darrell Stewart. There is a flag down in the secondary as Stewart takes it to the 45 with enough for a first down. And judging by the crowd's reaction, this could be against Michigan State.
It might have been offensive pass interference on number 81, Matt Sokol, their tight end.
Pass interference. Offense, number 81. 15-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
Good call.
Yeah, well, they're trying to set up a little route for him. That's not going to work. Here we go.
I knew who you meant, though.
Yeah, and watch as he moves downfield. Now, he is trying to clear it out. He does have a route. He was actually running a corner route. He's just running through Marcus Allen, and I always feel like those are tough calls to make because ultimately in the concept, are you upset that he's running a guy off and getting in his way? No, that's by design, but he was running a route. He did end up finishing his route running the corner route, but didn't make that much contact with the defender in that case.
Mark D'Antonio told Bruce Feldman at halftime that was his biggest concern with the first half was the high number of penalties. A big one there. And a long 3rd down. It is Davis breaking free. Felton Davis to the sideline, inside the 45. It was 3rd down and a mile, and they got a couple miles, 36 into Penn State territory.
Textbook by Felton Davis. Watch as he runs this curl route, puts his feet in the ground, and he comes back to the football. That is why he was able to make the catch and then get yards after the catch once he split the defense.
They hurry up on the ball and off play action, floating for Davis and incomplete with the coverage from Christian Campbell. Get the sense they're starting to lean on Felton Davis, consider him a go-to guy.
And coming into the season, they were looking for who would be that go-to guy. What they like to do is go with the hot hand. When you talk to Dave Warner, one of the things he talks about is they like to spread the football around, but once one of these guys gets hot, whether it's Felton Davis, Darrell Stewart, even Cody White at times, they'll keep coming back to them and feeding those guys.
9 catches, 153 yards, and a well-earned break for Davis. On second down, Lewerke looks to throw again, pulls it in, steps out of trouble for once, but then pulled down from behind. Sacked by Shane Simmons, a freshman defensive end, and it's 3rd down and long.
That's his first sack of the year. Lewerke wanted to try to get Sokol, didn't have a clear window, and kept trying to find someone downfield, but good coverage by the Penn State secondary.
And a nice job of Simmons not quitting on the play. Once again, Michigan State looking at a 3rd and long.
Here's the hard part. Felton Davis isn't on the field.
Right. Here comes pressure. Throwing the wheel. It's Rison making the catch. The true freshman Hunter Rison targeted for the first time today and provides 27 yards.
It's just a switch route, and he's going to get a little bit of a rub, but watch the ball placement. You see Rison falls at the beginning. Look at this. It doesn't get any better than that in these conditions against the wind. Unbelievable.
Play action. Look out. Got rid of it. There's Rison again. He's doing just fine with this wet ball. This reception for 18 yards. And Andre's son, Hunter Rison, makes it 1st and goal.
Flashes of Andre Rison. As Hunter Rison steps up, you can see Lewerke took a shot on that last play. It was Marcus Allen blitzing off the edge. Look at the focus and concentration. What about this Michigan State wide receiver group? We saw Felton Davis earlier. Now Hunter Rison gets in on the mix.
And now they bring Davis back in the game with a power set. Couple of tight ends, a fullback, and Gerald Holmes at tailback. Timeout, Michigan State.
It looked like there's some confusion with the call in the huddle.
14-14 game. Spartans have it 1st down and goal, and you come back. Fox College Football is sponsored by Dr. Pepper, the one fans crave. Back in East Lansing, the Spartans on the move with some help from Hunter Rison. Back-to-back long receptions. The true freshman from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and as we talked about, the son of the former Spartan All-American, former Pro Bowler, Andre Rison. Talking with Dave Warner, the offensive coordinator, yesterday, and he said that Hunter has some of his dad's very best qualities already.
Yeah, one thing in particular, fierce competitors. Not the biggest, not the fastest, but you put him out there in a competitive scenario, he's going to win the majority of the time.
Drive started back at the Michigan State 9-yard line. They've marched it all the way down inside the 5 behind Brian Lewerke, going 5 for 6. LJ Scott back in at running back. And behind Colin Lucas, he is in for the Michigan State touchdown. The Spartans go 91 yards to take the lead.
That's huge momentum for Michigan State, and in particular, LJ Scott. Let's take a look at the fullback, Colin Lucas. He's going to lead up right there on Koa Farmer. Take a look to see if LJ Scott got in. Yeah. Just verifying with this look.
I mentioned the confidence for LJ Scott and helping to build that here around the goal line. He's had 7 fumbles over the last 17 games, including 2 right down at the goal line.
Yeah, one versus Notre Dame, really going in for a score, got stripped. And that was where the game all of a sudden started to go haywire for Michigan State. See Marcus Allen there at the very end. And you talk about a player for Penn State who's able to knock that football out. Marcus Allen's the guy.
He's forced 2 fumbles this year, and he had the hat right on the ball there. What do you think?
I'm already done weighing in on these after earlier. No, I mean, at this point, again, it's called a touchdown. It's really close. I don't know that there's indisputable evidence that it's not, even though his elbow's down right there, so it'd be where the ball is.
And again, important to remember that your wrist in that situation doesn't make you down. It's an extension of your hand.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
So it does stand. It's until that elbow goes down. You continue to get that forward progress. Michigan State has its first lead of the day. An L.J. Scott run from 3 yards.
If you're Michigan State, you've really got to feel good about the rhythm you've gotten back into. It carried over from last week, even in a loss versus Northwestern. In the passing game in particular, Brian Lewerke has played extremely well.
One of the biggest surprises in college football this year, these Michigan State Spartans still in control of their own destiny in the Big Ten East. And the folks that have stuck around enjoying what they're seeing, trying to knock off the 7th-ranked Nittany Lions. Brian Lewerke had thrown 7 consecutive incompletions with these horrible conditions, but on that drive goes 5 for 6, and the Spartans have taken the lead for the first time.
Over 300 yards so far today. Only halfway through the 3rd quarter, so.
Dangerous Saquon Barkley will get his hands on this one. You always hold your breath if you're on the other side when Saquon's got it. But Michigan State's all over it. Let's go in the huddle, brought to you by SoFi, the preferred financial partner of the Big Ten Conference. What does Penn State have to do to get things going offensively?
I'll tell you right now, in that huddle near the sideline, Joe Moorhead saying, look, we've got to have some sort of a semblance of balance, okay? We haven't run the football effectively. So far, McSorley's had 9 straight incompletions. They need to all of a sudden get something going. Just get a positive start here, see if you can build some momentum. They haven't been good on 3rd down all game long. They're 1 for 7. If you look at their 2 touchdown drives, they didn't convert a 3rd down the entire time. It was production on 1st and 2nd down or a 4th down conversion for a touchdown.
It's Miles Sanders at running back instead of Barkley to open the drive. McSorley back to throw. Now will take off and get drilled. The ball comes out. There is no whistle. This is now marked down. Finally, the whistle comes as Joe Bocci was running that ball into the end zone. That is as late of a whistle as you're ever going to see. And it finally came from the near side linesman at the line of scrimmage.
Coming out, 2nd down.
You're going to see number 98, Demetrius Cooper. And clearly he was down before this ball comes out. As you can see, his left elbow hits down. At that point, the play is dead. Another key there, they're trying to get Trace McSorley involved in the running game because they've had no production today, but Michigan State's ready for it.
39 rushing yards for Penn State. Steps up, over the middle. It's caught for a 1st down by Barkley.
How many running backs do you see releasing that far downfield? So he's going to free release out of the backfield, and it's really McSorley stepping up and buying time. So he's able to find a window to Saquon Barkley. Because typically, once you get flushed up in the pocket like that, you're scrambling, you're getting outside. You're not going to have an opportunity to get rid of the football most times.
1st down and 10. Out of the ground with Barkley as a whole and keeps the legs driving for a gain of 6 or 7. Keeps those strong legs driving. This guy's a physical specimen. Squats 600 pounds, legendary calves. They say this guy's got just huge legs. Look at those things.
I said it before the game. We had some players out here in t-shirt and shorts running around. Up here in the booth, you could tell which one was Saquon Barkley. He's that much of an Adonis.
2nd down and 3. McSorley throwing the out. Yeah, and a nice tackle by Josiah Scott on Deshaun Hamilton. They spot him a yard short, and it's 3rd and 1.
Josiah Scott is a true freshman, but they say he's the leader of that group of cornerbacks. He plays with so much savvy for such a young player.
Enrolled early, starter from day 1. Now to Hamilton, Ohio. Third down and 1, Penn State from the 49.
This ball's got to be going to Barkley.
6 blockers on 6 in the box. It's McSorley with room off the left side. A block in front from Juwan Johnson to usher him inside the 30. So on 3rd and 1, they keep it with McSorley for a gain of 13.
Watch everyone flow this way with Barkley, and it's going to create a seam on the backside for Trace McSorley. You can see Gesicki coming back around to help create an edge on linebacker Chris Fry. Nice play design by offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead.
Yeah, with the Michigan State defense thinking what you said before the play, that it's got to go to Barkley on 3rd and short. It does on 1st and 10, and he barely gets a yard. Not much room in there. Chris Fry sticking his nose in, along with Naquan Jones. 2nd down, 9. Penn State offense, number 2 in the Big Ten, averaging 40 points per game. They're having a hard time with the weather conditions in this one. Down 21-14, late in the 3rd. Play action, looking one-on-one. Great coverage downfield. McSorley throws it away.
Look at the matchup at the bottom of your screen. That's 6'4", 225-pound Juwan Johnson. McSorley was looking for him, but Justin Lane is with him step for step. And we talked at the beginning of the game, Justin Lane's a converted wide receiver to cornerback. He's 6'3", 180 pounds. He matches up very favorably versus Johnson.
Guy that stood out to the Penn State staff on film, and Justin Lane. 3rd down, 9.
Right there, no one's on Gesicki.
They throw it underneath for Hamilton. He's got blocks. Crossing the field into open space. Now Barkley with a block. And a 1st down for Penn State on a gain of 21.
And they set up almost an underneath little screen for Hamilton. And that's the thing right now. We've just got to